What's up? It's me, D.W.C, and today I'm going to be doing a little experiment in MLB The Show 20. I'm going to be trying to put together the best team I possibly can, as cheap as I possibly can. So basically, I'm starting off with a team that isn't very good at the moment. In fact, it's one of the worst teams in the MLB, the Kansas City Royals. We're going to be going into their team and trying to flip them around and make them as good as I possibly can, as cheap as I possibly can. So basically, I'm going to be trying to make my ideal roster as cheap as I possibly can. Now, I did a 1-year rebuild with the Mets a couple days ago. This is not going to be the same thing. This is totally different. This is just an experiment, me trying to see how good a team can be as cheap as I can possibly make it. So we're basically going to be flipping this whole roster around, changing it to how we want it to be. Trevor Rosenthal, he's making $7.3 million out of the bullpen. Not going to work for us, because my mindset in this game this year, I don't think you need the best relievers, because I've seen relievers be hit or miss this year in this year's game. So I think you can get relievers like Scott Barlow and like Tim Hill and be perfectly fine. Whereas I think you need some solid power hitting in the middle of your lineup. So a guy like Jorge Soler, he's probably going to stick around. He is making $7.3 million, so it'd probably be one of the highest contracts on this team. But he has the power hitting, he has the discipline to really impact the lineup. Whereas guys like Brett Phillips, who's only good at defense, he's gone. We are going to be bringing in guys who have high contact at the top of the lineup and can get on base. So your leadoff guy, you want high contact and on base. Second hitter in your lineup, you just want to be a solid hitter. Then 3, 4, 5, you would like to be guys who can drive in runs. And then 6 and 7, you also want to be solid hitters. And then 8 and 9, you're fine with them being a little bit weaker. And then you want at least 2 top arms in your rotation. That is my opinion. And then you can go cheap on the bullpen. You can go cheap at catcher. So we're going to go in and we're going to flip this whole roster around. Then we're going to simulate and see if my theory of building a roster in this year's game actually works. Okay, so here's the first move we're going to be making. Like I said, we're getting cheaper in the bullpen. We are getting rid of Trevor Rosenthal's $7.3 million contract for a 78 overall closer. We are also giving away Jacob Junis, who is just a very average, in fact below average pitcher in almost every possible statistic. And we are getting back Jordan Montgomery, who's more average across the board, and he's better. He's a year younger, so he's going to fit our rotation better, in my opinion. We are getting Tommy Kahnle, who is a higher overall relief pitcher, but he doesn't have the A potential, so his value is not the same as Rosenthal's, but his contract is a lot less, as he's only making $2.7 million this season. And then we're also getting Jonathan Holder, who, you look at his stats, very average for a reliever, $750K. We're going to make that trade, and we're going to move on to our next one. Okay, so right here we are getting a big arm. You see he has a low contract. He's only in arbitration for the next few years, so you're not going to be paying him big time money until a couple years in the future. It's Jack Flaherty. He is one of the best pitchers in this year's game. 88 overall starting pitcher. You look at his statistics all the way through. Very solid. The only thing that's a little bit low is his home runs per 9. But we're getting our top of the rotation arm. We're giving up Mike Montgomery and a potential starting pitcher in Chris Bubik. And we're also giving up a B potential shortstop. But like I said, we're getting rid of our prospects. We're going to build the ideal team for my vision of the perfect team you can make in this year's game without going crazy and just getting all the best players you can get. Jack Flaherty is going to be our best starting pitcher on this roster. Okay, next trade we have is for Adam Eaton. We are giving up Alex Gordon and Chance Adams, who is a low overall B potential player. And we are getting Adam Eaton, who, you look at his hitting stats, they're very solid all the way across the board. That discipline especially is something that I'm looking at along with the contact. He's going to be a very good top-of-the-order bat for us, so we're going to bring him in to be one of our top 2 hitters. Alright, with this trade, we're mainly getting Danny Duffy's money off of the books. You see, we're clearing a lot of salary. We are bringing in Matt Shoemaker, but we're probably going to end up flipping him. So basically, we're just bringing in Ryan Barucki, who will be a 4th or 5th starter for us. So yeah, we're just going to do this trade. We're also getting a B potential reliever who's not going to impact the team really, but yeah, we're going to push that through. Alright, right here we are bringing in our number 2 starter in the rotation, so we are picking up John Gray, who is a 79 overall, but he pitches way better than that this year in franchise mode, and we're giving up just 3 very average B potential starters. So we're going to make this trade happen, and then our rotation will pretty much be set. We'll have Jack Flaherty at the top of it, 88 overall. Then we'll have John Gray, Ryan Barucki, Brad Keller, and Jordan Montgomery. So we'll have Flaherty and Gray, and then we'll have 3 average arms behind them. So that's the way that our rotation is going to be, with the hopes of increasing the talent level in our lineup. Okay, next trade, Alberto Mondesi for Miguel Sano, and I know this is going to hurt a lot of Royals fans, and in fact we are getting more expensive player here, but again, we're setting up my ideal roster, so I just want to see how this team ends up playing. So we're getting rid of Mondesi, we are bringing in Miguel Sano. We'll also throw in just a reliever to kind of get the money or the value to match up. We will throw them Ian Kennedy, and we are going to get back Trevor May and Tyler Duffy. So we get 2 pretty good relievers right there, a really good hitter. We're giving up a closing pitcher who's way overpaid and not very valuable, and then we're giving up a hitter who's around the same level of value as Sano. So we're very happy with that, and we're also still losing salary. Okay, next trade, we are bringing in another bullpen arm in Pedro Strop, so this will round out our bullpen, and I think we actually managed to put together a pretty decent bullpen for what we gave up. So our bullpen is going to be Tommy Canley will be our closer. Then we'll have Trevor May, Tim Hill, Tyler Duffy, Scott Barlow, Jonathan Holder, and Pedro Strop. None of them making over $2.7 million out of the bullpen, which is perfect. And then our rotation is looking pretty good. We can even look to upgrade it if we want, which I might do. And now we're just focusing on putting together the best lineup that we possibly can. So we're going to make that trade happen. We get in Nick Castellanos, which is going to help our lineup immensely. You see, $16 million, it is a big contract, and I know I said I was trying to get the team as cheap as I possibly can, but I guess we're going to go for the best overall roster that I can possibly make instead, and we'll see how it goes. We're probably going to get rid of Salvador Perez for a catcher who's not as good. Sorry, Royals fans. Alright, the next move we're doing is going to hurt Royals fans, but we are trading away Salvador Perez, Ryan McBroom, and then Chase Busher for Anthony Rizzo. So this doesn't make that much sense for the Cubs, as they would have Salvador Perez and Wilson Contreras, but let's just imagine that they're going to play Salvador Perez at first base in this situation, and we're going to push that trade through. This is definitely going to help out our lineup, as getting a hitter that's as good as Anthony Rizzo for $5.9 million a year is very, very solid. And we get rid of $8.1 million, so we're shedding salary again. We did bring in a bigger contract in Castellanos, but this team is going to be very, very solid, and I hope they perform as well as I want them to. Okay, right here we're basically just picking up a cheaper catcher. We're picking up a very good defensive catcher and a very average to below average hitting catcher. I believe catcher is the one position you can go cheap on this year. You don't need a very good catcher, in my opinion. And I think I showcased that in my Detroit Tigers franchise rebuild that I did. We didn't have the best catcher, but we still managed to win the World Series with the Tigers in 3 years. And we're getting rid of that Matt Shoemaker contract. And we're also throwing in a prospect, Jorge Lopez, and Matthew Navarro, the catcher. We're going to push that through. I'm not giving up a whole lot. And we're getting in a guy who's going to be our starting catcher. And then Gallagher, we're fine with being our backup. Okay, so now we are bringing in Marcus Semien, who is a much better hitting shortstop than Mondesi was. So we're happy with that. We do have to give up, unfortunately, a potential first baseman, Nick Pratto, and Ryan O'Hearn. But Ryan O'Hearn's just a power guy. He's not much more. He doesn't even hit that well in this year's game. And we're also giving up Michael Franco, who we're totally fine with doing, as we are getting in a star shortstop. Is $13 million, but again, we're putting together my ideal roster. So I think this might be the final move I do with this team. We are flipping Ryan Barucki along with Bubba Starling and Kelvin Gutierrez, and we are bringing in Lamet. And yeah, so he's going to come in and be our third starter. He will replace Barocchi in the rotation, and we'll see how this goes now. I'll show you the lineups, I'll show you the rotation, and then we'll get into the simulation. Okay, so we basically just needed one more MLB roster player, so I'm trading away Anderson Miller for Mike Yastrzemski. Simple trade. Next thing you're going to see is our lineups. So here is how the team lines up. We have Whit Merrifield leading us off, Adam Eaton hitting second, Jorge Soler hitting third, Miguel Sano, Anthony Rizzo, Nick Castellanos, Hunter Dozier, Marcus Semien, and Jacob Stallings. So it's looking like a very solid lineup all the way throughout, all the way down to Marcus Semien, so we're very happy with that. Then versus lefties, it's pretty much the same. Very solid all the way down to the catcher. And then our rotation is looking like this. We have Jack Flaherty as our ace. John Gray is our second. Lamet is third. Montgomery, and then Keller. And then our bullpen, we have Tommy Canley closing games for us. Tyler Duffy, Tim Hill, Trevor May, Pedro Strop, Jonathan Holder, and Scott Barlow, with Jesse Hahn being our long relief guy. So overall, very happy with how the roster is looking. We are going to turn injuries down so the team stays as much of the same as it possibly can, so we can find out if this team is as good as I hope they are. So we're going to go down to injury frequency, turn it all the way down. We'll also turn trade frequency down, and we'll just see if this team can end up being as good of a team as I hope they can be. So I'm going to get into the season simulation, and I'll see you at the end of the season. Alright, so the end of the season has arrived. We won 99 games. We won the division. We will be taking on the winner of the wild card playoff game. We are going to stop and look at how the team ended up doing. Whit Merrifield had a good year, 280 with 15 home runs, sorry. Solid year. That's about what you can expect from him. Leadoff guy, pretty solid, 340 OBP, so we're happy with that. Then Adam Eaton had a good year, 319 average, 23 home runs. He was very good. 925 OPS. I told you, Adam Eaton is a very solid pickup this year in franchise. Jorge Soler, 41 home runs. Perfect. That's what we want. Miguel Sano, 36 home runs. Absolutely beautiful. Rizzo, 306, 32 home runs. Perfect. Castellanos, average in home runs are a little bit low, so he didn't have the best year, but still a solid bat in the lineup. Hunter Dozier didn't do as great as we would have liked, so those are two bats that didn't produce to the point that we would have liked, but we still got 99 wins on the season. Marcus Semien had a pretty good year, 17 home runs is a little bit down, but he had a 282 average and 827 OPS, so that's pretty solid. And then our catcher we didn't really expect much from. Mike Yastrzemski did okay off the bench. And then everyone else we don't really care about. Looking at our pitching rotation, Jack Flaherty pitched fantastic. John Gray did good. Lamet struggled. Montgomery struggled. And then Brad Keller was actually solid. Jesse Hahn struggled. Scott Barlow struggled. Jonathan Holder was pretty decent. Pedro Strop was good. Trevor May was good. Tim Hill struggled. Tyler Duffy was good. And Tommy Canley was good. So overall, the team performed very, very well. And now we're just going to simulate the postseason and see how we do. So taking on the Indians, we're going to get a brief overlook of how their team looks. Obviously, they have more star power than we do with Lindor, Ramirez, Shane Bieber, and Clevenger. Then they have Santana, Carrasco behind them. You look through their team. Cesar Hernandez was a guy I was looking at potentially picking up for our number 2 hitter in the lineup instead of Adam Eaton. He had a solid year, 11 home runs, 289 average with a 372 OBP. So he's another option you could go for. He's not too difficult to trade for. Franmil Reyes is a guy who always hits a lot of home runs in franchise. I shouldn't say always. He usually does. 49 home runs this year is crazy. Domingo Santana is pretty much a can't-miss player in franchise this year. Looking at their team, we'll see how we match up against them. Our rotation will be Flaherty, Gray, Lamet, and then we'll probably put Keller over Montgomery because Keller pitched really well and he's actually jumped ahead of him in overall. And then you see how our bullpen is. Our lineup is going to stay the exact same as how it was. and we're basically just going to simulate through these games and hope that we can perform well. We win the first game, we win the second game, we lose the third game, and we win the fourth game, moving on to the ALDS versus the Red Sox. We are going to take a quick look at their team now. Moving over to the Red Sox, we see they have obviously still Chris Sale, JD Martinez, and Xander Bogaerts, Eduardo Rodriguez, Rafael Devers, Brandon Workman, Matt Barnes, Vasquez, Peraza, Taylor, Verdugo, Chavis. Benintendi actually didn't have a very good year. His potential's gone down. He struggled a lot, actually. He only played 109 games, only hit 6 home runs. That's not good at all for him. So we're going to simulate through this series as well. We'll set up the rotation how we want it to be. Make sure that our man Jack Flaherty is pitching the first game, then John Gray, then Lamet, and then Keller. So moving on through this series, let's see how we do. We win the first game. We lose the second game. We win the third game, the fourth game, and the fifth game. We won the American League Championship Series, and we will be taking on the Dodgers in the World Series. Everyone knows how this Dodgers team is in year one. In franchise mode this year, they are absolutely stacked. I'll go over very quickly to show you. I don't think I need to really show off anything. They have Bellinger, Betts, Kershaw, Buehler, Jansen, Julio Urias, Max Muncy, who is a beast in franchise this year, Jock Peterson, Price, Floro, Lux, Seager, Turner, Wood, Baez, blah, 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 blah. Their team is absolutely stacked. So if we can manage to beat this team, I will be very impressed. And it will just prove to me that I've managed to put together a crazy good roster. Quickly simulating through these games now. Game 1, we lose. Game 2, we lose. Game 3, we win. Game 4, we lose. And Game 5, we lose. So, unfortunately, we could not beat this Dodgers team. You do see we have 1, 2, 3. 3 games were pretty close, and 1 game was a win. So, overall, I'm very happy with how this team played. That Dodgers team is just ridiculously difficult to beat. So, can we say that I managed to put together the perfect roster? No, because we didn't win. But, overall, it is a very, very good roster. And really it proves that you don't need the flashiest of stars. Like, you don't need a Francisco Lindor on your team. You can get a Miguel Sano, who's more of a power hitter. But that'll do it for this video. Just showing you how to put together a very solid roster throughout. The bullpen, you don't need to go top heavy in the bullpen this year. You don't need to get star-studded bullpen arms. You can just get like high 70s to low 80s rated bullpen arms that are cheap, and then you can put the rest of your value in throughout your lineup and just build a solid lineup all the way throughout, and you'll have a lot more success than if you were to focus on building a solid 5 in your rotation or a solid like 5 bullpen arms, like high to mid 80s bullpen arms. So that's how I think you should put together your rosters this year. Let me know your opinions in the comments below, but that'll do it for this video, and I'll see you next time. Peace.